Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. So guys, who's selling more smartphones? Is it Samsung or is it Apple? Now the misconception that a lot of people still think about the iPhone 5 is that it is the dominant seller on the market today, which is actually untrue. It hadn't even touched the Samsung's original number, which Samsung originally sold 9 million pre-orders, whereas the iPhone 5 only could sell 5 million its first week. There was a big rumor for a long time before the iPhone 5 came out, like, oh, it's going to sell 10 million. It's going to sell 10 million, just because of the fact that that they wanted to say that they would beat Samsung. Didn't come close, but the numbers just came in, and who sells more smartphones overall? Well, it's easily Samsung. So Samsung sold over 56 million smartphones, and Apple sold 26 million. To give you an idea about how much of a difference this is, though, just in Galaxy S3s, they sold 20 million. So if you think about that, Galaxy S3 almost sold as many as every iPhone combined. So you're talking iPhone 5, iPhone 4S, 4, and 3S, because 3S was still at the very beginning of this part. So I mean, it's killing Apple. I mean, Apple really can't take it. And I've always told people this: Apple's never been good with competition. When a competitor's come out that has a good product, and in Android's cases, not only kind of comparable but better than, it's just going to blow it out of the water. So we saw this with PCs too. If a lot of you guys don't remember, in the early 90s, Apple dominated. Apple dominated. Late 80s, early 90s. Apple dominated until Windows came out and just destroyed them. And Windows took over the market share and Apple has never even come close to taking the market share. It's like and they try to manipulate this. Don't get me wrong. Like Tim Cook had said at the conference that, oh, we've seen the most growth in PCs and notebooks than any other company. And it's like, well, yeah, if you already dominate the field, then you don't have too much to grow. So that's the main thing that I found kind of funny, is that how they always try to spin it. And again, that's Apple's great marketing. They spin it to make it seem good on them, but now more and more numbers are coming in, and their numbers just can't compete with it. Now, let's see about profitability. Which company made more profit? Well, actually, Apple is still in the lead at that. It has 8.2 billion. But Samsung saw a 91% increase from last year, which is insane for 1 year for it to make that kind of increase. And it got 7.4 billion. So you have to see the trend that's happening here. Is Samsung is just completely not only dominating Apple in terms of just smartphones, but in terms of profitability. So it's really coming up that Samsung is going to replace Apple as the top company. And not only that, but we see that it's hard to compare stock because Samsung is sold international trade, as opposed to how Apple is sold, and it's a lot more private owned than public owned in comparison to Apple. So the stock is kind of hard to see, but we've seen the same trend in Google, whereas Google has dominated the stock market ever since the iPhone 5 came out. Ever since the iPhone 5 came out, it literally was like this. Apple and Google basically reached about the $700 mark at the same time, and Apple fell off straight down. It went down as low as like 550 or so, whereas Google stayed above 700 for a long time. Now, this was about a week ago. I haven't checked the numbers. I'm sure, though, I know Apple stock was going up because of how the iPad mini was announced. So that was a good trend. But then, that's getting bad feedback now from Apple loyalists because, Apple people are pissed off that, they just got the new iPad and now they have an iPad 4 or new iPad, new old iPad. I don't know whatever they're calling these, new and old and all these things. But yeah, so Apple people are really pissed off about that. And also the iPad mini, although it was initially received as great, people are starting to realize that it has a lower resolution so compared to a $250 Nexus 7, comparing to a $330 iPad mini, you have a lower resolution, so a worse quality screen. You have a slower processor that's tremendously slow, as well as a lower graphics card, so you can't do as good in gaming. And finally, you have a slower OS. A lot of people don't know that actually Jelly Bean actually outperforms iOS 6. So Jelly Bean is Android 4.1, and iOS 6 is, of course, the newest version of Apple's OS. So a lot of people don't know it's actually Jelly Bean's been proven to be more stable, as well as run faster compared to iOS. So, and that's what a lot of people just haven't seen yet, but it's beginning to catch on that, the Android of old, where it was Gingerbread 2.3 from a year ago to a year and a half to 2 years, 3 years ago, did crash more, but that's not the same case anymore. If you remember Android like that, then you don't know the new Android. So definitely interesting to see all the numbers come in. And leave your comments or questions down below. I know I'm going to get Apple fanboys saying, "Oh, well, how can you say this? What about this, this, and this, and this?" Hey, I'm just saying, I'm telling you the numbers. I'm just telling you the statistics. If you don't like it, do your own. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.